the guys from Ping, they've kind of shown me how much the equipment matters.
I just love that I can hit any shot I kind of want.
We're going to be able to tell some fun stories about what goes on here to help golfers play better golf.
Welcome back to the Ping Proving Grounds podcast. I'm Shane Bacon. That is Marty Jertz. Marty, you got an exciting guest today.
Yeah, Austin, it's awesome to have you on the pod.
Yep.
Get to know you a little bit, and all of our listeners kind of want to hear your story, hear what you're up to.
All right, well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with Cognizant, because obviously getting a win this season on the PGA Tour. I was reading a little bit about what you said after, and you said I've been dreaming about this moment my whole life. Kind of a weird finish, if you will, just the way it ended up obviously being on a Monday finish. But can you kind of walk us through the week, walk us through that final round?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was from the start, the game was in a good spot, and that's always a promising sign, but you never know until you tee it up. And, I played well the first day and just, continued throughout the whole time, but then to have the rain delays and I played 7 holes Sunday evening, then the rain delay happened, and I was happy I finished out on the 7th hole, even though it was a, long putt in the dark, but to come back and have a tee ball, make it feel as real and normal as I could. And I had, 11 holes the next morning, and, and it could have helped me, the fact that with the rain delay. So it was a really fun week, and I'll take a Monday finish every time if it ends up that way.
When you wake up on Monday, because you kind of gone through it Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
Saturday night into Sunday, you're thinking about it, you're trying to get your rest, trying to go to sleep. Is it almost easier Sunday into Monday, considering you'd already kind of gone through those emotions, or is it tougher because you're like, I got to go through this whole thing I just went through again?
I think it was a little tougher just because I had to do it. Was the same thing. It
Right.
wasn't like it wasn't like it was just another tournament. It was the exact same experience, but this time I actually had the lead versus where the night before I was tied for the lead.
Right.
So I had kind of separated myself, so it was, I guess a little bit more comforting in that way.
That golf course, I mean, we put together for on the fitting side some like strokes gained driving scores, and we use Kapalua as the easiest driving course on tour, and PGA National is the hardest driving course on tour. How did in your ball striking stats are quite impressive, tee to green. What was your confidence level going into that course, and did things really match up with the way you drive the golf ball off the tee that week?
Yeah, for sure. That that golf course suits my eye really well. I mean, I feel like for the most part it's a drawing golf course off the tee, but I actually made an equipment change on Tuesday evening, threw in a different shaft in my driver, and it was ended up being the right one.
What initiated that change? What were you looking for?
Yeah, so it was funny. I was actually driving it fine, is the funny part too. And I was finished up my practice round on Tuesday, and Sam Stevens, another Ping staffer, was on the 10th tee, and I walk over there, and I just grabbed his driver. I was like, man, this feels pretty good. I didn't hit a ball with it or anything. I was just like, it looks good. It feels good. And I was like, hey, Kenton, can you make me Sam's driver? And he's like, yeah, you're going to want a little bit more loft, but yeah, I'll make it for you. And then I didn't hit it until the Wednesday Pro-Am and hit it great. Played the tournament and drove it, probably the best I've ever drove it. So it was funny. Still in my bag now.
Very amazing.
Marty, I'm always impressed, shocked, surprised that tour players will tinker as much as they tinker, but then will be confident enough to throw something in the bag and be successful with it, go out there and win it. It's just I think regular golfers, amateur players, high handicap players, they're more fearful of changing stuff in their bag. And I think when you hear from the tour players, it's like, no, man, if you're missing it left or you're missing right, like lean on the equipment if you can.
For sure. I mean, a lot of time it's funny, you'll be hitting drivers on the driving range and, testing stuff, and, you have a left miss with a shaft, and then all of a sudden you throw in a different shaft and that miss goes away. It really is incredible what equipment can do.
I think it's the shaft side of things is really amazing because all you need is just this tiny little tweak to the face to path, right? You can just change that face to path delivery 0.2 of a degree, and that's all it's going to take. So, was it a shaft feel transition thing?
No, I mean, and what I've heard, it's a similar shaft to the one I played before.
Yeah.
It had a similar feel, similar, kick point and all that stuff, but it was different, and I needed that. And but I think on the tinkering side, we were joking, like a lot of times with Dylan, I'll grab a different putter just to mess around with and end up throwing in my normal putter just because I need a different look for 3 days, or whatever. So.
Just to remind the other putter, by the way, that there is other ones out there they should be fearful of. In golf, I mean, outside of really the caddy, there's not really teams you stick with throughout your career. You think about somebody like Steph Curry, playing with the Warriors throughout their career. You're somebody that's been with Ping since you were very, very young. Right. How did that relationship start?
Yeah, so I was playing in it was a junior all-star event in Norman, Oklahoma, and Jeff Brown came out and watched me. We had no idea who he was, and he watched all of my rounds. And by the end of it, my dad was like, "Hey, like I'm Steve Eckroat. Like, who the hell
Who are you?
Who the hell are you watching my son?" And he was like, "Well, introduce himself." And then after that, I started working with through that Ping Junior program, and it's been what is that now? 13 years with Ping, and I'm 25 years old. That's pretty cool.
What were some of the irons and woods you played at the very beginning?
So the first driver I got was the Answer driver in 3-wood.
Did you remember? Wasn't that the one that you kind of you could color in?
Yeah,
you could really custom it. What'd you do to yours?
Yeah, mine was all orange.
Okay,
Obviously.
there you go.
Yeah, it was even the grooves are orange.
Yep.
And then I think it was S56s, maybe irons, or maybe S55s. I can't remember what that. And then Glide 2.0s, and then the Redwood putter I still use now.
The D66, still in the bag,
still
right?
in the bag. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then likewise, I think your dad, he's been your golf coach. Is he a golf pro?
No.
And what is that relationship like from a mechanics and coaching standpoint?
Yeah, so my dad played professionally for a little bit. He played college golf, and he's only my swing coach. That's his thing. He doesn't want to coach anybody else. He just wants to coach me. So it's more kind of I bounce ideas off of him, and that's how we like to do it more so than dissecting the golf swing. He'd make sure the alignment's good, the ball position's good, and then if I want a swing key or a swing feel, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this feeling? And he's like, I hate it, or I like it. So that's kind of how we do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I always talk about steps with players. I mean, you kind of take these steps in junior golf, into collegiate golf, and something happens, you win a golf tournament, you play well against somebody that maybe you're intimidated by, and your confidence grows. The way you played at the U.S. Open last year, I mean, you had a great 9-hole stretch. Tied the low score, I think, ever at the U.S. Open. You shot 29, right? Is that what you did at LACC? What did that do for you the rest of the season into this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that week, especially just because I didn't feel like I had a great game that week, and I was able to compete and still finish top 10. I was struggling with the golf game most of last season, especially the ball striking side of it. And I was able to find little keys here and there, and and I was still able to compete. So that was a confidence booster for me, just knowing that, without my best stuff last year, I was still able to, almost win a golf tournament and then finish top 10 in a major. And then, stuff like that, even whenever I didn't have my best stuff, was encouraging.
You hear from players a lot. I mean, we as golf fans, typically, if you're not watching PGA Tour Live or ESPN Plus coverage, you're watching the players that are playing the best each and every week, and they're typically dialed. I mean, they're not missing a lot of fairways, not missing a lot of iron shots. Pro golfers miss fairways. They miss iron shots. They hit bad golf shots. There is something to seeing your B game be competitive against the best in the world. And when you say, oh, my B game is successful here, imagine what happens when I have my A game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point. We'll miss a lot. I mean, it happens all the time. And I think it's kind of funny. We were talking about last week in the signature events where I played terrible. And after the first 2 rounds, it's like, well, shoot, I still got to go play 2 more rounds.
Right. I didn't make the cut here.
Sometimes it's nice to go home and go figure some things out. But obviously it's great having those, no cut events and stuff. But it's funny sometimes.
So if you're at an event like that, and in the signature events without cuts,
right,
when you aren't playing well, and let's say you're down towards the bottom of the leaderboard, what do you do in terms of a Saturday and Sunday to either work on your game or try to find something headed into another big week?
Right, yeah, the mentality changes for sure. It's not so much, obviously you want to play well and finish well in that event, but you're more looking into the future, especially like last week coming into a major. I was just trying to find something, trying to find the right swing key, trying to find the right feels. And
did you find anything?
I did, yeah, definitely.
What'd you find?
Just figure out how to get the golf ball straight. That was the key.
It's a simple thing to find.
It is.
You did it straight.
And I was really I had tweaked my wrist early in last week, so I didn't get to practice before the event. And the chipping really kind of struggled because of that. That's the first thing to go. And, I was just trying to get the feeling back in that area, and it seems to be back.
Growing up in Oklahoma, what were some of your favorite memories, in terms of, speaking of majors and the majors head to Southern Hills. They've headed to Southern Hills a few times in your childhood. Do you have any memories from when the PGA was there at Southern Hills?
Yeah, so me and my dad actually went out to that, and I remember vividly. I was young. I was like 7 years old, and Tiger Woods was walking up the walkway off of 18th green, and I can't remember if he high-fived me. I definitely told people he high-fived me, but it was just a cool experience, and I remember him being way bigger than I imagined, and all that stuff, and it was just a cool experience. And Then they had it back in 20. Was it last year?
A couple of years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
I was on the Corn Ferry Tour and I wasn't
Yep.
able to play, but we had the U.S. or the Senior PGA at Oak Tree National where I play now. I think that was in 2014,
Yep.
and went out there and watched some of the legends. It was, a lot of good golf in Oklahoma.
Austin, what is it like thinking back to being a kid, seeing Tiger Woods, him may or may not high-fiving you or fist pumping you or whatever?
I'm not sure. I still can't remember. I've
It's
told
fine,
the story
it's
so
okay.
many times. I think he did.
Listen, we all go fishing. That fish grows every
Yes,
time
it
you
does.
tell that story. But
Yeah.
what is it like playing in major championships now that Tiger's in the field?
Yeah, it was cool. This morning I was hitting range balls and he was 2 spots down, and it's just cool. I mean,
Are you peeking?
Oh yeah. I remember so in 2019 I was a sophomore in college, and I qualified for the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and I was on the putting green, the one by the first tee. It's by itself, nothing else is around, and I walk out there and the putting green is just packed. You can't see it. And when I'm walking up, and Tiger's the only guy on the green, so it's just me and Tiger on the putting green, and I had my coach in college caddying for me. I was like, "Is it bad if I take a picture right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll take plenty of pictures. You just go putt." So it's cool.
Well, he has the yardage book out and he hits the putts one-handed. Maybe you had the phone out. You're hitting putts
exactly.
one-handed.
Yeah, I mean, so he definitely took a bunch of pictures. So that was cool.
Was he who you looked up to? I mean, there's
Oh,
so
yeah.
many great
Oh, yeah.
players that went through Oklahoma State. I'm imagining you're looking up some of those players, but
Oh,
he
for
was
sure.
the guy you looked up to.
Oh yeah, I mean, whenever I was a kid, I remember in that U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. When he had that putt on 18, I had my head tucked in the couch cushion, like I couldn't watch the putt. He was the guy. He was the guy.
Yeah. Austin, let's talk a little bit about your irons. You play Blueprint T's,
Yep.
right? And then Blueprint S in the 3-iron.
Right.
On tour, we have players in the I-230s. We have players playing mostly Blueprint S's, and then a lot of mixed sets. You play the Blueprint T down to the 3-iron, right? So
Right.
Blueprint T or Blueprint S 3-iron. Tell us what attracts you to that Blueprint T iron.
Right.
What characteristics and why you like it.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college, the Blueprint came out.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing ever. And I was just drawn to the forged blade look, and I tinkered with some stuff last season before the tees came out, and once those came out, they're so clean looking on the back, and that's part of the game too. Is you have to like what you look
Yeah,
at. Like, so the
absolutely.
look has a huge thing to do with it, and they just kind of match my game well. I think contact wise, I catch the ball pretty clean most of the time, and obviously I could probably use a little forgiveness every once in a while and go for the more game improvement, but I love them, and they're clean looking, and they do what I want it to do most of the time.
Growing up in Oklahoma, obviously going to college in Oklahoma, there's so many, and you still live in Oklahoma, there's so many great players that live out there and play and practice. Who in that world did you look up to? Who in that world did you kind of pick their brain? And then when you
Right.
started to have success, right off the jump in college, who did you talk to about navigating that world, not just collegiately,
Right.
but what you're going to do post Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. The area I grew up in, Oak Tree, was there was a bunch of us golfers.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's like pro golf haven. I mean,
It
that's where they
was.
go.
And I remember there was like three guys older than me. They were seniors and I was a freshman, so whatever age difference that is, 3 years. And whenever I was like 10 years old, I wanted to be like them. It was like
Right.
Nick Hine and Hayden Wood. Like I wanted to be like them. And then Kevin Tway and Robert Streb were 5 years older than them. They wanted to be like them. And then there's a group age, a little bit below me that probably wants to be like me. And I think that's what makes that area so good at golf. It's just that area. And obviously Ricky Fowler, whenever I was in school, he was always close. He came back all the time and wanted to help out the team as much as he could. So
It feels like there's like a fraternity there. I mean,
For
it's
sure,
such
yeah.
a great system. It's such a great, college. It's such a great university. It's produced
Right.
so many great players. And it feels like you guys aren't just close when you're there. It feels like
Right.
when you get out on tour, you stay relatively close. You play practice rounds together.
Right.
You talk to them. And we were talking before we got going. Scott Verplank's out there kind of helping you during the Masters, your first Masters there as well. I mean,
Right.
that has to feel so cool because not every college, not every university has what you
Right.
guys have.
yeah, it's incredible to think about how many guys we have out on, PGA Tour and other tours. It's incredible. And when I first came out here, especially on the sponsor exemptions, you don't really have any friends out here. And guys like Ricky, guys like Victor, they were really nice to me. I'd play practice rounds with them. And then now I got teammates of mine with Victor, obviously, but then Sam Stevens as well, another guy. And it's just fun, have someone that you had that shared experience with, and guys that shared the similar experience a couple of years before you.
Will you ever move away from Oklahoma?
Nope.
No,
I
that's-
mean, I plan on doing stuff in Arizona in the future. but it'll never be full time. I love Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, we'll see you in Arizona.
Yeah,
See you
hell
out there
yeah.
in the wintertime.
In the wintertime,
just
yeah.
like
Our winters are a
November,
little.
December.
Our winters are a
Way
little
easier to
too-
tweak the driver if you're in Phoenix.
Yes,
Let me just
exactly.
say that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but we'll scrape up a lot more wedges in the desert than we do.
Austin, tell us a little bit about how you like approach a week. Like, what does your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday look like, and how do you
Right.
kind of get yourself ready
Yeah.
for tournament week?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two different tournament preps. There's the, a week off coming into a tournament, and then you fly in Sunday night,
Yeah.
and then you have a full week versus where you're coming from a different event, and that Monday's kind of more of a rest and recovery kind of day. Typically, I like to just play 9 whole days. When I first got out here, I played a little bit more. I played 18 on Tuesday, but I wasn't in the Pro-Ams on Wednesday, so it was now that I'm in the Pro-Ams on Wednesday, it makes it really easy. I just play 9 on Tuesday, 9 on Wednesday, and I go out. Typically, I'm spending a little bit of time on the range just trying to make sure I find the right swing keys, right feels for the week. And, I just like to keep it simple. I mean, just make sure the main areas that I'm, my alignment, my ball position, like I was saying earlier, and then swing path is somewhere within a realm that I can play with. I don't try to make it too perfect, just kind of keep it easy.
Are you a technology guy, or are you TrackMan,
Yeah.
Foresight? Are you looking at those numbers?
Yeah, I use a TrackMan, but I really only look at 4 numbers. The ones I really care about are carry distances, and then the swing path, attack angle, and then I like to see how fast I'm swinging it, obviously.
Who's not looking at?
Yeah, I was gonna look at that swing
once in a
speed and
while.
ball
Let's
speed.
not lie to
Yeah,
the
I'm not gonna
people here.
lie,
I got to
yeah.
know how fast I'm
So
swinging
that's
it.
that's really all I really care about.
Are you a stats guy? Are you looking at strokes gain stuff, putting stats? You guys get into that, or do you feel like you more just have a feel in a sense where things are at in your game?
I definitely look at it just to get an idea of what the rest of the field's doing, or
Yeah.
because sometimes you'll trick yourself. Like you feel like you're hitting your irons good, and then you look at the stats and you're losing strokes on the field, and you kind of wonder how. But then
Yeah.
you kind of really dissect it, and you see where you lost. When you miss a green with a wedge, that kills you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if I feel like I'm swinging it well, I don't too much worry about the the statistics on the tee to green. And short games where it gets a little finicky, I think sometimes, because not all 6-footers are the same. You'll
Yeah.
have a 6-footer that's breaking 3 feet, and then it's statistically the same as a dead straight 6-footer, and it's really not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Austin, when did you realize that this was going to be your thing? Because
Yeah.
we've mentioned your success. I mean, collegiately, you were great. Obviously, you've now won on the PGA Tour. When did you realize I might have a future in this game?
Yeah, I think at a young age I played everything growing up sports wise, and I was
What were
always
you
just,
best at outside of golf?
football was probably what I was second best at.
Okay.
But I was just teeny. My freshman year physical of high school, I was 4'11", 99 pounds.
Whoa! Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
was
the
a
football
kid.
coach is getting you in
No.
line here.
No, so that's whenever I gave up football
There you
quickly
go.
after middle school.
Yeah,
But I think I always felt like I was good at golf, and I had my dad telling me I was good enough, all this stuff, and I was winning all the junior events locally, and then you get to high school and kind of do the same thing. And I don't know if you ever really get the moment of like, I'm good enough to play on the PGA Tour
Right.
until you actually win on the PGA Tour. Then you're like, okay, you know what, I am good enough. But I always felt like I had a chance. And then to go play at the best program in golf and all that stuff, it kind of helped build my confidence into thinking
Yeah.
I could play out here.
Did you play in the Texas Oklahoma back in the day? The
I
junior
did.
event?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so played that.
Ardmore,
probably played a little
Oklahoma.
better than me. The Air Force Base event, the golf course would always kill me. It blew like 30 there.
Yeah,
I'd always,
was it,
that'd be the one that always get me.
Dornick Hills, is that where you guys played it?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
sweet. It's a good golf
A
course.
little older than you, but yeah, it's a great
Yeah,
golf
it's really
course.
good.
But it would always blow 50, and I grew up in East Texas where there was no wind, and
wind,
I was
yeah.
like, this is not my game.
Yeah. Also, what adjustments have you made for going from Korn Ferry Tour to PGA Tour? Either courses,
Right.
competition, routine, and how are what other changes do you think you're gonna have to make in the future to continue with your success here?
Yeah, I think something that I didn't realize when I was playing the Korn Ferry Tour, I was still, fresh out of college, was how much it wears down on your body playing that much golf. I mean, growing up, even in a college schedule, you're not playing that much competitive golf. You'll play once every 3 weeks, once every 2 weeks, and then you get on the Korn Ferry Tour, you play every week. I mean,
Yeah.
and you have to because you're
Yeah.
trying to get on the PGA Tour.
Right.
And it really kind of wears down your body. And I think that was the biggest adjustment I made on the PGA Tour, was putting a focus on recovery and rest, and the maintenance and the in the weight room and stuff like that, just because, I mean, it wears you down.
Yeah. What does that look like for your fitness routine?
Yeah.
Couple days in the weight room type of thing? Or?
Yeah, I try to get. I just really started building a team around me to where I have guys traveling with me now, and we try to get at least 3 or 4 days in the gym during a week, which it's hard sometimes with early tee times and late tee times, just trying to find the right time. But that's kind of what I needed someone for, because if it's on me, I won't do it. That's something that I figured out when it comes to the gym on the road. Is it's easy for me to say, I'll do it tomorrow, kind of thing. But to have someone in there telling me, no, we need to get this done, it's really helped a lot.
Are you like a chef at the house guy, or are you like an Uber Eats, Chick-fil-A
I'm an
guy?
Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Uber Eats.
What are we going with, like, week to week?
The bad thing is Taco Bell.
Uber Eats Taco Bell?
Yeah, it's sad.
Does it show up warm?
I have, and
Okay,
typically I have a courtesy car with me that I could easily drive to the Taco Bell. But
It's so easy.
It's so easy to
like
press a button.
$4 for you to deliver it to
I
you.
know.
What's the Taco Bell order? What are we getting?
It changes. Everything on the menu at Taco
Okay,
Bell
okay.
is one of my things. So
You're democratic. You'll just get
I'll
whatever.
get
Double
whatever.
decker, I'm dialed. Mexican pizza,
all of
I'm
it.
into. Oh.
I'll eat all of it.
Let me tell you, about 2:30 in the morning, if it's been a heavy night out, I'll go like $35 deep at Taco Bell, which is a really hard thing
that's
to do.
hard to do.
Like, you almost have to order everything on the menu.
You do.
I don't consume it all, but I'll definitely want to have a little bit of a taste. That's very interesting. I
Yeah.
like the Taco Bell thing.
Yeah.
What about the tattoo? The
Yeah.
world? You have a tattoo of the world?
It's the worst tattoo on the planet.
Seriously, you don't like it?
I've actually been to 2 sessions now of the removal.
Oh,
process.
all right. So when'd you get it?
I was 18. I was
And what was the reason?
It's a funny story actually. So this is why I'm going to Arizona in the wintertime, because there was nothing to do in the middle in Oklahoma in the wintertime. So it was a snowing day in December, and me and my buddy had just gotten done working out, and we were at Qdoba, and he was like, "Would you ever get a tattoo?" I was like, "Yeah, I probably would." And so we had nothing else to do, so we drove to this tattoo. Are they called tattoo parlors?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
the name
so.
of them?
Yeah,
I have no
that's
idea.
Still the way we say it.
Yeah, and so we drove there, and we were just like kind of looking through the booklets and what they had, and they were like, "We have an opening for 2 and like in an hour and an hour and a half. If you guys wanna get them today." We were like, "Sure, why not?" And I mean, it's 12 o'clock it's noon on a Tuesday afternoon. There was no drinking involved. It was a completely sober decision. It's
sober and bored.
Sober and bored,
Yep.
and ended up with the worst tattoo ever.
So what did your buddy get?
I can't remember. It was on his arm. It was a verse of some sort, but it was I can't remember what.
But
verse.
he's not taking that one
No,
off.
no. He likes it.
You're getting yours off.
Yeah, and it hurts.
And I heard it's worse than the tattoo is getting
significantly.
removed.
Yeah.
How many sessions does it take to get it out of there?
They said probably 10.
Okay.
But it's who knows how many.
It's just a good reminder.
Exactly.
Take a day when you're 18 years old.
When you're 18.
Before you pull the trigger
yeah, exactly.
on buying a car, on marrying someone, and on getting a tattoo. That's very interesting.
Think about it before you do it.
Yeah. Also, what do you think? What would you consider the strength of your golf game? Strongest part of your golf game?
I would say my driving. I think I drive the golf ball consistently well. But I think that's the area to where if I'm struggling, that's when you'll see the score struggling, because that's the first thing that I really make sure is in a good spot, because that's where I think is my strength. It's where I score from, and I think statistically I am one of the better drivers out here. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge statistical guy, but I think the stats say so.
One of the things we've noticed about your driving is that you don't curve it a lot, right? You play a little draw.
If I'm just setting up square and I just swing, it's going to draw a little bit. But I like to work it both ways most of the time.
A little bit both ways with the driver, but in general, I think one of the things we've seen with your data is that you don't have a big spin axis.
Right.
Like you don't curve it a ton. That helps unlock a little bit of extra distance. Or I think that's one of those things that makes players sneaky long.
Yeah.
Is that you
like
don't curve it a lot.
Straight.
Right. Yeah. Typically, I like to keep the ball within the margins of the fairway, not start it outside the fairway.
And then what about your iron play? Do you curve your irons a lot into
Yes,
different pins? And growing up in Oklahoma, it's windy. Is that what's your strategy on shot shaping?
Yeah, I play with flights a lot. I'm bringing them down, bringing them up, curving them. I think that was something I struggled with when I got on tour. Was you see a lot of guys just hit one ball flight.
Yes.
And it was like I was thinking, do I need to change my approach on how I play golf?
Interesting.
Just because that's what everybody else was doing, and I tinkered with that, and then realized that I hit the irons better if I'm playing with ball flights, because it gives me something to focus on. I think that's something that helps me as I pick a number, how far I'm trying to hit it, the ball flight I want, which way I want it working, and it kind of helps me zero in on the flag. So
I think for the listener, Shane, that's another good example. Austin talking about shot shaping. The Blueprint tee is that's like your sports car. Like you can just dial it in terms of your face to path, things of that nature. Do you curve it based on pin location, winds, distances, or all the above?
All the above. I think, and a lot of times it probably doesn't make sense the way I curved it. You know, I mean, it's a back left pin and the wind's off the right, and I'm gonna cut it into it. You know, so it doesn't matter. It just kind of
like,
feel.
do you walk up and see the shot? Is that what happens?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll a lot of times when I walk a fairway or like when I get up to the tee, you know, I just kind of visualize the hole working a certain way. You know, that's just kind of how I've played it.
Yeah,
and trust it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have you had to change your goals this year after the win? Do you write down goals? Are you a goal guy?
My caddy's a goal guy, so he always makes me throwing a couple goals at the beginning of the season, and
it's order Taco Bell, win on the PGA Tour. Yeah, what else? But what else? What else are you looking at for the rest of the year?
Well, now I feel like I think the main goal would be making Eastlake.
Okay.
I think that's kind of I'm in a good spot for that, and that's kind of if you can do that, that means you had a great year. And that's really where the main goal, but then also somehow making the President's Cup. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun. And I mean, I'm sure people would love to hit his tee shots. You hit it dead straight around the middle.
Absolutely.
I'll go into this one. Austin, we appreciate the time, man. Great chatting with you. Good luck the rest of the season. Hopefully we see you on the President's Cup team.
Thanks so much. Hopefully so.
This is the Proving Grounds Podcast.